All right, let's dive into a world that's completely invisible to the naked eye, but is absolutely essential to our own. We're talking about the world of microbes. Now, be honest. When I say the word microbe or bacteria, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably getting sick, right? Germs, disease. And look, it's not totally wrong. Some microbes can cause a ton of problems for us, for animals, and for plants. But that is only a tiny, tiny part of the story.
Because if that's all we focus on, we're missing the real story. We miss out on the fact that microbes are also our greatest allies. I mean, they're the microscopic chefs, pharmacists, and sanitation workers that literally keep our world running. And in this explainer, we're going to see exactly how they pull it off.
So, where do we start? Well, let's head somewhere we can all relate to: the kitchen. You might be shocked to find out just how many of your favorite foods and drinks are thanks to the hard work of these tiny little organisms. Think about something like curd or yogurt. Seems pretty simple, but it's actually a small miracle of microbial transformation. It all kicks off when you add a little bit of starter culture, which is packed with millions of lactic acid bacteria, into some milk. These bacteria just go to town, multiplying like crazy, producing acids that completely change the milk, curdling and digesting the proteins. And the result? Delicious curd. And get this, the process actually makes it better for you, boosting the amount of vitamin B12. So they take something good and make it even more nutritious. Have you ever wondered what actually makes bread rise? Or what gives idli and dosa that incredible light, fluffy texture? Yep, it's microbes again. Specifically, a yeast called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. When you mix it into dough, it starts fermenting the sugars and releases carbon dioxide gas. It's those tiny little gas bubbles that get trapped and give the dough that classic puffed-up look. It's living organisms making our food better. And cheese is a fantastic example of how precise this all is. Different microbes create wildly different foods. Those big holes in Swiss cheese, they're made by one specific type of bacteria that produces a whole lot of CO2 gas. And that sharp, unmistakable flavor of Roquefort cheese, well, that comes from ripening it with a very particular kind of fungus. Every single microbe brings its own unique talent to the table, defining the texture, the flavor, the whole experience. Okay, so that's the kitchen. But what happens when we scale this up, like way up, to an industrial scale? Well, it turns out microbes are the powerhouses behind massive factories and pharmacies, creating everything from our favorite drinks to literal life-saving medicines. For, centuries, people have been using that same yeast we use for bread to produce alcoholic beverages. It ferments the sugars in things like fruit juices and malted cereals, and that produces ethanol. Now, here's the cool part. If you just stop there, after fermentation, you've got wine and beer. But if you take that fermented liquid and then distill it, you concentrate the alcohol to create spirits like whiskey, brandy, and rum. Same starting process, two very different outcomes. All right, now for one of the biggest game changers in modern history, and it happened completely by accident. Just picture it. Alexander Fleming is working with bacteria cultures. He notices that on one of his unwashed plates, a patch of mold is growing. But here's the crazy part. All around that mold, the bacteria were just gone, wiped out. Fleming realized the mold was producing some kind of chemical that killed bacteria, and he named it penicillin. But it actually took two other scientists, Ernst Chain and Howard Florey, to really unlock its full potential. They proved just how powerful it was during World War II, where it was used to treat wounded soldiers and saved an unbelievable number of lives. It was so revolutionary that in 1945, all three of them were awarded the Nobel Prize. And you know what? Penicillin was just the beginning. It opened the floodgates. Today, we get a whole arsenal of powerful medicines from microbes. We use streptokinase as a clot buster for heart attack victims. We use cyclosporin A to stop the body from rejecting a new organ after a transplant. And we use statins, which are produced by yeast, to help lower blood cholesterol. These microbial pharmacists have completely changed the face of modern medicine. Okay, so they save our lives, but they also save our planet. Microbes play this absolutely critical, even if it's not very glamorous, role as nature's ultimate cleanup crew. Every single day, they treat millions upon millions of gallons of our wastewater and sewage. Now, to really get how they do this, we need to talk about something called biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a pollution score for water. It measures how much oxygen microbes would need to break down all the organic gunk in a sample of water. And here's the only thing you need to remember. The higher the BOD, the more polluted the water is. Simple as that. And just take a look at this chart to see how mind-blowingly effective this microbial treatment is. That first bar, that's untreated sewage, with a BOD of around 400. Pretty bad. But then, after the microbes have done their job in a treatment plant, look at that second bar. The BOD plummets all the way down to just 20. And to put that in perspective, a clean river has a BOD of less than 8. It is a staggering reduction in pollution, and it's all thanks to these tiny organisms. So how does it actually work? Well, it's basically a two-step process. The first part, primary treatment, is pretty straightforward. It's physical. You filter out the big stuff and let solids settle to the bottom. But the real magic, the biological magic, happens in secondary treatment. The wastewater is moved into these huge aeration tanks where air is constantly pumped in. This creates the perfect environment for good, helpful, aerobic microbes to grow like crazy and just chow down on all that organic waste, which is what causes that BOD number to drop so dramatically. And just when you think it can't get any cooler, there's a bonus. In the final stages of treatment, different kinds of bacteria get to work on the remaining sludge, but this time without oxygen. This process actually produces a mixture of gases, mostly methane, that we call biogas. And since it's flammable, we can capture it and use it as a totally sustainable source of fuel. So we're cleaning our water and creating clean energy at the exact same time. It's incredible. All right, for our last stop, let's head out to the farm. Because it turns out, microbes are becoming essential partners in how we grow our food. They're helping us find more sustainable ways to farm by reducing our dependency on so many harsh chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Look, we all know chemical pesticides have a dark side, right? They can be toxic, they often harm beneficial insects right along with the pests, and they can pollute our soil and water. But microbial biocontrol offers a much smarter way forward. The whole idea is to use nature's own systems, natural predation, to keep pest populations in check. It's super specific, targeting only the bad guys, and it doesn't pollute the environment. And there are some really cool examples of this in action. I mean, we all know ladybugs are great for getting rid of aphids, but we can also use microbes. There's a bacteria called Bt that produces a toxin that kills butterfly caterpillars, but it's totally harmless to other insects. Or there's the trichoderma fungus, which is fantastic at treating diseases that affect the roots of plants. And you know what? It's the exact same story when it comes to fertilizers. Instead of just dumping chemical fertilizers on the soil, we can use biofertilizers. And what are they? They're simply living organisms that naturally make the soil richer and more nutritious for plants. And just look at the different specialists on the team here. You've got rhizobium bacteria, which partner up with plants like peas and beans. They live in the roots and pull nitrogen right out of the air, converting it into plant food. Then you have mycorrhizal fungi, which create this huge network around plant roots, helping them suck up phosphorus from the soil. And cyanobacteria act like an all-in-one soil conditioner, adding organic matter and nitrogen. So let's just step back and look at the incredible resume these microbes have. They are our chefs, fermenting our food and making it delicious. They are our pharmacists, discovering and creating life-saving drugs. There are our sanitation workers, cleaning our water and producing energy. And there are farmers, making our soil healthier and protecting our crops. They are, without a doubt, the unseen allies that make our entire world possible. They're literally everywhere, doing practically everything, and yet they remain almost entirely invisible to us. Our health, our food, the very stability of our planet, we are completely dependent on this invisible world. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we've overlooked the importance of something so fundamental for so long, what else are we missing? What other powerful, unseen forces might be shaping our world right now?